Well, welcome to today's episode of Spill Your Beans. Today we have a special guest. Like, I'm talking special. We're going to get into the story soon. So why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Dean Arsene.
Dean Arsene.
Yeah.
All right. Make sure you Google this, okay? And we're talking about today's story is, I'd say, the journey to become a hockey player.
Sure.
It's not an easy journey.
No, it's not at all.
Okay. Well, where did your journey start?
You know what? I'm originally from Aldergrove, British Columbia.
Really?
Yeah.
There was a town of Aldergrove back?
Yeah. I know, outside of the bubble of Abbotsford. Yeah. So I grew up in Aldergrove, played minor hockey there. You know, from the time since I guess 5 years old till about 14. And back then, I'm not sure how it is now, but it was a smaller organization, and so we didn't really get the chance to play against some of the better competition, the Langley, Abbotsford, Surrey of the hockey world in minor hockey, anyways. And so did all right playing there. And then my final year of minor hockey, I was able to transfer and play in Abbotsford. So kind of the big show in terms of minor hockey, and that was an opportunity for me to play against better competition, be in front of more scouts, and see where the wind would take me, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you're saying the different hockey personality, the Aldergrove, smaller personality, smaller group of teams. I remember Abbotsford, the Pilots were always big. The Chilliwack Chiefs. All right. I know, huge. Yeah. I mean, it's a full stadium every time they play out there.
Yep.
Now, what about you? For practices, what time did you have to go to practice in the morning?
Oh, well, I think the rinks, there weren't as many as there are now. And so I think the earliest when you're in a rep team in Aldergrove, I think we were around 6:30 or so in the morning. That was a couple times a week. And when you're 10, 11 years old, that's quite early in the morning. My last year when we were in Abbotsford, I think we were 5:15 on Sunday mornings and 4:45 on Monday mornings. So that Monday morning practice was quite difficult because you get to high school. I was in 10th grade, and midway through the day, your eyes are rolling back and you're having a heck of a time trying to stay awake. So it was, one of those things you just kind of had to go through, is you had to try to wake your parents up, and, you just had that drive, just wanted to be on the ice and get better and be around your buddies.
Well, with a Monday morning.
Yeah, that was not fun.
You have games on Sunday?
No, we would practice Sunday, Monday. Our home games were Thursday, and then really depended on who we were playing. Typically, we'd have 4 ice times a week.
4 ice times. Yeah. Evening games, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Okay,
typically so like 7:30 or so for minor. You're asking me now. That's like 25 years ago. So that's the best.
The clock's still the same.
Yeah. But my memory isn't there, right? So
a few hits here and there.
Yeah.
That was a cheap shot.
Yeah. So it was good. And then when I was able to go away to play junior hockey, I moved when I was 16 years old to Regina and played in the Western Hockey League. So you're probably familiar with the Vancouver Giants, same league. I was put on a protected list by Regina, and that was the only team I could play for. So I went out there, tried out, and made the team. And so I moved away. In grade 11, I was living in Regina, Saskatchewan, 40 below.
Whoa.
Culture shock.
So you pursued this during high school. You left school.
Yeah.
You were schooling there still, I'm guessing?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
okay, so you're still pursuing the education. How are the parents with this? Now you're saying trying to get them up at 5 in the morning to get you to practice, then to school.
My parents, they were, them and my sister, they were always very supportive. My sister and I, she's a year younger and a very good athlete in her own right. So it was always a competition, so we'd make each other better. And my parents, like I said, they'd be driving us back and forth to different games, whether it be hockey or baseball and everything. And so they were very supportive. And for me, my dream was to be a hockey player.
Okay, well, before you go any further, I hope your sister's watching.
I don't know. She lives in the States now.
Who's a better athlete?
I'm too competitive to tell it there, so
all right.
Let's leave it at that.
All right. I didn't say it. All right.
So, anyways, they were very supportive. It was very hard on my mom. My mom's an emotional woman, so for the first couple months, every time I get off the phone, I talk to him almost every day because you get homesick. You're 16 years old. And she'd be crying and hanging up the phone, right? So she got better, but even, my last couple years pro, anytime they'd come out and visit me, she'd be crying when they leave, kind of thing. So it's tough, but they understood that was my passion and that was my goal, my dream. And so even though it was hard on them, they were with me all the way.
Now, at that age, I'm sure when you get that offer to head out east, you're excited.
Yeah.
You're ready to go. Yeah. How is the family with this? The idea of going away?
Yeah,
Did you have a support system over there? Or
yeah,
your
they end
team?
up basically the teams have billet systems, so billet families. So we had dinner with the family I was potentially going to live with prior to me kind of making the move, and so everything was good. There was a couple kids there that are around my age, and the parents were really nice. So it was an easy transition for me. They made it just feel like home. But you're away from your friends, you're away from your family. I had about a week kind of Christmas break. You'd come back, and then that was it. So I'd be gone from basically August till April or May, depending on how long your season went. So yeah, it wasn't easy, but just something that was a sacrifice you had to make.
Sacrifice. That's a big point there. Parents sacrificing a close relationship, but actually probably got stronger with you going away.
It did.
And today, I'm going to say, if there's that dream, pursue it. You have internet, Skype, and you can actually talk. Whereas,
Oh yeah,
like,
didn't have that
there,
before.
we
Didn't have cell
that.
phones. Didn't have
So follow the dream. I mean, this is a journey that's now a teenager. We have a long story still here to go. We're just at the starting phase here of the career. But if you don't have that support structure right from the beginning, then you're not only fighting the people on the ice, but you're fighting your family off the ice. And that's the struggle you don't want to have in life. So support, it's the biggest thing, encouragement and support. So okay, now you're there. You get to talk to mom every night, and she's still crying. What was the next phase of hockey?
The next phase, I played 5 years in the Western Hockey League, and it was a good run. And then from there, it was...
What's your position?
I'm a defenseman.
You're a defenseman.
I was a defenseman.
Oh, and speaking of letting your kids go to a different place, look, he turned out fine. So trust the billet system. Trust the billets. They'll feed them. They want them to do good at their home team, right? So if they have to go, let them go, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a big defenseman who ate healthy with your billets, yes, so 5 years.
5 years Western Hockey League. From there, I was basically either try to go to school. The nice thing with the Western Hockey League is every year that a kid plays, then you have a year paid for Canadian university.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I had...
Beautiful.
Yeah, so if you can't make that next step to professional level, then you can use your schooling money and go from there. So it's kind of on the cusp. What do? Do I go to school or try to go pro? And I wasn't drafted in the NHL, so it was going to be a tough kind of grind to work my way up. And
Let's go right there.
Okay.
The draft.
Yeah.
You're at that point, your career, you already know, okay, there's not going to be, you're not going to have a chance, or you just already said, you know what, I'm not even worried about it, I'm going to go this way.
Well,
is there
there was, like, I could get into more detail, but essentially my draft here, I was rated, to go middle, 4th round. And that was back when the draft was one day. Went to the draft in Buffalo, New York, and sat there for about 12 hours, and I didn't get drafted.
Okay, so you're in a small community, now you're in Buffalo, New York over there.
For the NHL draft.
Ooh, that's insane.
And I was expecting to get drafted, and so was all my friends and family back home. And I sat there the whole day, and I didn't get drafted, and it was pretty devastating, to be quite honest. And so it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was just dejecting. And 2 days later, when I was back home, I got a call from the Calgary Flames and got invited to training camp. And so that kind of, sparked my, motivated me again to kind of prove people wrong. You didn't draft me, but I'll show you type of attitude. And that's kind of what I carried on my whole career. I wasn't drafted into the Western Hockey League, out of minor hockey too. So I kind of had that already ingrained in me. And so that's kind of what pushed me forward. So I went to a couple different training camps while I was still in junior, Calgary Flames twice, Vancouver 1 year. And then once it was time for me to either go to school or go pro, I went to New York Rangers training camp. And I was able to sign a contract with their American Hockey League team. And I started my first year, I was playing in the East Coast Hockey League in Charlotte, North Carolina. So
you've seen a lot of
places.
Okay, how do you guys travel in the minor? Buses, planes?
Bus. For the most part, bus, because a lot of the teams in your division are, if it's usually 2-3 hours away or so, you do the day of the game. But if it's say 4, 5, 6 or anything plus, you'd be heading the day before. So it's a grind. It's funny because you look at the NHL schedule, they'll play back-to-back games, which is grueling in its own right. But in the American League and in the East Coast League, they have 3 games in 3 nights. Typically 3 and almost like 2.5 because they play a Friday, Saturday night, and a Sunday afternoon, which it was tough. When I was probably the first half of my career, we'd have 4 games in 5 nights.
I guess because that's when you can fill the stadium is on a Friday,
exactly.
Saturday, or Sunday.
You're not, the NHL rinks are going to fill up Monday, Tuesday. It doesn't really matter which day of the week.
No.
Where, you're looking the weekend games. That's when they're going to draw people in. So, yeah, it was grueling. It was tough. A lot of hours on the bus.
All right. Well, tell me a story. I know there's on I think on one of the sports channels right now they're doing the stories of players.
Okay.
And so they're talking. Any stories you have on your travels and your journey?
Oh, I don't even know. Like something.
Okay, well, why don't you think about that?
Okay.
We'll cut to a little break here,
All right.
and when we come back, hopefully we have a story from the bus.
Oh God! Now you're
Right.
putting some pressure on me.
Yes, all right. I'm putting on the pressure. All right, good. We'll be back. Okay, folks, when we left, we were trying to get a story out of Dean here about the bus. Can you come up with anything yet?
There's nothing too exciting. It's
The
movies
bus
and
and the
sleeping.
wheels go round and round.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know the song?
Yeah, I do.
Did
know
you sing
that.
any songs on the
I
bus?
have a 2-year-old, of course, to know that song. So, no, you know what? It was resting, it was movies, and sleeping.
I guess, yeah, if you're doing the 3-4 games and 3-4 nights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the long road trips, there were a lot of pranks that got played in the hotel rooms and everything like that, but I can't really get into that.
Yeah, we're on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
We've gone on road
camera, I'll
trips
tell you
with the
some
soccer
funny ones,
team,
yeah.
so yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing like bad, but just not in good taste. We can't really.
Yeah, that's
okay.
a good way
We've
to
been there. Okay. All right. Even parents get involved sometimes, but
Yeah, I
in
guess.
fun. All right. Well, let's stick to the bus, but the journey,
Yeah.
not a story, but your path to the lights and then winding down the career. I want to know that journey
Okay.
and the encouragement for our viewers out there, seeing there's no quit.
Yeah.
There's that drive of what you want. Hey, and you can get there.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's the moral of it, right? If you want something bad enough, you're going to do whatever it takes to get it.
Did you want this, or family members, or this is your goal?
It was all me. It didn't matter if it was hockey or what sport or, really if it was music. It didn't matter what it was. My parents were, as long as I was committed to it and gave everything I had to it, they're behind me. So it just so happened it was hockey. And like I said, I left home, I went to Regina. I got traded. I was in Edmonton for half a season. Then ended up, the franchise moved. I was in Cranbrook, Kootenay Ice for 3 years. So that was my junior hockey kind of road trip. And then from there, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, my first year in the East Coast League. Jumped up to the American Hockey League my second year. I was in Hartford, Connecticut. Blew out my shoulder. Started my third year in the East Coast League in Reading, Pennsylvania. And then moved up to Hershey, who was their American League team. I was in Hershey, Pennsylvania for 5 years after that, so 5.5, 6 years total with them. Had a great time. Yeah, that was
10 years right there.
Yeah, it was 5 years of or 7 years, I guess, of my pro career. I loved Hershey, had a lot of success there, was able to win a couple championships, but with that I had a few injuries, and I hadn't had a chance to kind of realize my NHL dream, which is, I think any little kid starting out wants to try to play in the NHL. If I would have probably even had one game at that point, I would have probably tried to stay in Hershey. I loved it there. It was like a second home to me.
Oh, so you're saying if you had played a game in the big show, you would have retired?
I wouldn't have retired. I would have probably stayed in Hershey.
You would have stayed playing there, happy there?
Happy there, loved it there, great people.
What's so special about Hershey?
It's just a small community that I got to know a lot of people outside of the organization really, really well. I was there for, like I said, 6 years. And so it just became, like a second home. We won a couple of championships there. So I was there for, a lot of times 9-10 months of the year. So it became a second home.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I didn't have that opportunity to play in the NHL. And so I ended up leaving there. I signed with the Oilers.
So a couple shoulder injuries. That's the hardest injury to recover from. It's a ball and socket in every way, and you still, okay.
I'm not even going to get into the
No,
injury list because this is...
a defenseman, 6-foot guy on a hockey team. I couldn't imagine.
It's going to be too long. The injury list is too long. You can run it in the credits at the end if you want.
You know what? We'll do it.
No,
we'll get you to send it to us.
It's terrible.
We're going to do it. We will do it.
It's a walking disaster.
We're going to do the map of your plane and bus journey, and then we'll do a list of your injuries.
Okay.
Chronologically.
Yeah. So anyways, I signed with the Oilers for really the main goal of getting an opportunity to play in the NHL. And had a good training camp. Went down to Springfield, Massachusetts, was where their farm team was.
Is that where the Simpsons are from?
There's like 15 Springfields in the U.S.
All right.
I don't think they've ever
I
nailed
know
it
they
down,
haven't.
right?
Okay.
You're a fan. Yeah, I know that. So anyways, I was down in Springfield, Mass for a couple months, and then I got the call to go up to the show.
Okay, what is that call? What do you mean that call?
You know what? We played a game. It was like a Friday night or whatever it was. I can't even quite remember. It just so happened it was my dad's birthday, which was kind of a cool coincidence. I don't know. It was fate, whatever. We played the game. I got called in the coach's office after, and they said, Dino, you're going up. And that was basically it.
No, my hair just stood out.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so you're kind of shell-shocked. I'd waited 9 years. I was 29 years old at that point.
Let's go right at that moment. That reaction of when the coach is like, hey, you're heading up. You're shipping out tomorrow, tonight, whatever.
Yeah, the next morning I had to fly to Atlanta.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So I walked out of there kind of a little stunned. It's something that was actually happening that so many things go through your mind. And so I got on the phone to my wife and my family and said, I got the call. And funny story, so I had flown to Atlanta the next day, and we were playing the following day. And my folks and my wife and my sister all flew out from Vancouver to Atlanta. So they're there. They're going to watch my first game. It's going to be incredible. I go out for warm-up, and I got healthy scratched. So they flew all the way across the country to watch me play. And I'm like, this can't be happening. I'm getting scratched, and now I'm going to get sent down, and it's just going to be terrible.
Oh.
It just so happened that one of the forwards got injured that game, so they kept me. So after that game, we flew to Columbus, Ohio. Well, my folks had to fly back home along with my wife and my sister. So they're on a flight while I'm playing my first game in Columbus against the Blue Jackets. So, yeah, they got to watch the tape, and then after that, we went back to Edmonton, and they all came out to watch that. So they saw my second game, not my first, but it didn't really matter at that point.
Give me that feeling, that emotion of like, lacing up for that first big show. I'm not talking the home game where your parents were there. I know that's a special feeling too.
Yeah.
But that first moment, like, you don't even know the players. You just got called up into a new locker room, and
did you know
anyone?
You know the guys a bit because you're there from training camp, and the hockey world it's a small community when you get to that level. And so I knew a few of the guys, and they knew my story. They knew how long I've been waiting for it. So they were all very supportive. It was a pretty cool moment. So yeah, it's one of those things leading up to it. There's a ton of butterflies. You are nervous. It feels like your first game. You feel like a kid again. But then once the puck drops, everything, that all goes by the wayside. You just play.
You're a hockey player because you're a hockey player.
Yeah, you just switch it off, and then
nature takes over.
It does. You've done it so many times. It doesn't really phase you. Then once after the game, you're able to kind of take a deep breath. You're like, wow, it just happened. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was able. I was up for probably about half the season that year with Edmonton, which was pretty fantastic. Got in about 13 games. Then the following season, I signed with St. Louis. I played in their farm system. I was in Peoria, Illinois. From there, I went to Portland, Maine, Phoenix's farm team. And then from there, I went to Winnipeg's farm team, which was in St. John's, Newfoundland. So yeah, at that point now, that's 12 years pro. And St. John's is a long way away from here.
It's far.
It's a hike. It's funny. I was outside the arena. There's a kind of a map stamped in the concrete, basically where you are at all the major cities, and you're closer to Moscow and Rome and London than you are to Vancouver when you're standing in St. John's. So that kind of gives you a little perspective of how far away you were. And so my wife was here, and it was just kind of one of those, I'm kind of past my prime. I'm not going to get called up to the NHL anymore. Abbotsford had a team in the Heat, and ever since they came here, I'd wanted to play in Abbotsford. Like, how great would it be to play for your hometown team? And
Can you pursue that? Can you put a request?
We did. Well, we did. My agent and I talked after that season and said, hey, I don't want to look at any other teams, to be quite honest. And if they call, politely decline, and let's just focus on Abbotsford. And it was one of those things. I went on a tryout. I didn't even have a contract. I went on a tryout, had a good camp, and they kept me. It was a young team, so they needed somebody a little older to try to help with the young guys.
Don't give it an excuse, man.
Well,
you earned it.
I was fortunate. Everything worked.
Everything I've heard in your story, the fate.
Well,
there's no coincidences. It was meant to happen that way. The
Yeah,
birthday,
it was-
the call up, everything was meant to be, man.
Yeah, it was a great way to kind of finish. I was able to, play at home. My parents came to every game. My wife came to every game. It was a lot of fun. And then once the team left, I wasn't too interested. I was like 99.9% sure that was my last year. It was a good way to kind of go out on your own terms. And Yeah, it was just a fantastic ride. So I was happy to finish it here.
Isn't that crazy? Like the journey started just miles right there.
Yeah.
And it ended just
And
a few miles right
yeah,
over there.
it's nuts when you really
And you
think of it.
went, I mean, I was trying to map it in my head of your
Oh,
journey
it's-
there.
yeah,
You
it's-
can't do it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So all of this now, your last year at Abbotsford here, were there, you have kids now, or are you still?
Yeah, my wife was pregnant with our first. Dominic, he's a little over 2.5, was born a week before my last game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was crazy. So it just worked out perfectly. That was the other nice bonus of playing at home. I had a pregnant wife at home. I didn't have to be somewhere. She had her support system, all her family and friends, so it worked out really well.
Okay, so now let's tell everybody. You're a family of how many?
4.
4.
So like I said, Dominic's a little over 2.5, and I have a daughter, Quinn, who's coming up on a year in April. So
Okay, so this whole journey of family supporting you to
Yeah.
get you somewhere, and you come down to wind your last down, and bam, there's your family. It
Yeah.
just started.
yeah, it
you
was
know?
great.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
It's almost written.
It's like a new chapter.
Well, I think sports write stories better than Hollywood. And I always say there's a few stories, but I don't think I have the time to share them here. Maybe we'll try and post on a vlog or something.
Yeah.
But what a journey.
Yeah.
So anything you want to say to the would-be inspiring athletes that are wondering, why am I doing this, or is it worth doing this?
You know, just follow your passion, follow your dream. That's the first thing. If you care about it, if you really care about it, you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. And it's one of those things. There's very few sure things in terms of, let's take hockey for instance. There's very few Sidney Crosbys, Connor McDavid's, Alex Ovechkins out there. Everybody else has to work for it. And if you want it bad enough, you're going to work for it. And there's going to be sacrifices. There's going to be obstacles. Either getting cut from teams or getting injured, what have you. Everybody's got their own journey. As if you really want it bad enough, you'll stick with it. And hard work will trump talent any day of the week.
Hard work will trump talent any day of the week.
Yeah.
Well, you just joined us for a hockey journey with Dean Arsene. And I mean, I think the story is going to keep going. We're going to have some more stuff. We're going to have Dean back on, I think,
Sure.
and update us in the near future. But yeah, don't quit on your dreams. I usually close a show with something, but I'm not. I think what Dean said there was just perfectly amazing. Yeah, follow your dream. Don't
Yeah.
quit, and just go for it. So thanks for tuning in this week, and till next week.